Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Fat Minute. I am your host, Don John, joined by my co-host, BVJ.
Hello.
And we are joined tonight by special guest, Marissa.
Hi!
So we are ranking the Marvel Cinematic Universe specifically. We're just doing Phase 1 here tonight because we don't feel like being here until 4 in the morning ranking like 500 movies. Because we did that when we ranked 7 Spider-Man movies, and it wasn't fucking fun.
Well, hold up. That was really fun. It was just late.
It was fun for like the first 2 hours. After that, I wanted to go to fucking bed.
I don't think I've ever seen a podcast that was 4 hours long.
I don't think I've ever been in a podcast that was 4 hours long.
Alex Jones is usually like 4 hours long.
Well, unfortunately, I'm not retarded. I'm not retarded, so I don't watch that. So, all right. So we're gonna rank Phase 1, the MCU. Were you about to say something?
Oh, I'm just shaking my head. Can't see it, but I'm shaking my head at Alex Jones. I don't know why Blake brought that up.
That's what happens when your mom doesn't love you, is Alex Jones.
Oh, God. But
we're going to just kick it off here. We're going to go in release order. So we're going to start with the movie that started it all, Iron Man. So Iron Man, I remember when it first came out, like I don't think anybody really knew what it was supposed to kick off in terms of the MCU. I don't even think Marvel knew what it was supposed to kick off in terms of the MCU, if we're being honest. But I remember it came out, and I remember when it was announced, and I saw all the TV commercials and everything. I was like, it's Iron Man. Who fucking cares about Iron Man? And then I saw the movie, and now I fucking care about Iron Man. I mean, it's just such a cool movie. It manages to echo something Trevor said before on a previous episode. It makes you care about something that, or at least in regards to me, it made me care about something I didn't care about. Like, as far as the comics go, Iron Man had not been interesting in quite a long time until this movie came around. And, a large part of that is due to Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark. Whatever's could be said about it's already been said. I'm just going to go ahead, put it at an A. So whenever you're ready, Marissa, go right ahead.
Okay. So I scoffed at first, but actually you're kind of right, because I'm not going to pretend that I was big on superhero movies before this. Like, I didn't really care, and I'm sure, I don't remember exactly, but I'm sure it's Blake that made me go see Iron Man in theaters. And, I mean, as along with, like, most red-blooded women, straight women, I have a thing for Robert Downey Jr. I mean, come on. But,
hell yeah, bro.
Beyond that, yeah. But beyond that, yeah, it made me actually want to see all the rest of these superhero movies. And it's kind of the movie that changed everything. So, like, not just for me in my little world, but if, like, this movie hadn't succeeded in the massive way that it had, then Marvel wouldn't have anything. They would have just flopped, and there wouldn't have been all these other movies that they went with. So Iron Man's the one to thank for everything. And God, it was just a really fun movie to watch. Like, I was just kind of skimming through it earlier, and like, it opens up with like these tanks in the desert playing Back in Black, and then you see Robert Downey Jr. drinking some whiskey with like these douchebag sunglasses in the back of a tank, and he's like just being this like cocky asshole. I don't know. It's fantastic. And like, if I had to say, Iron Man's my favorite. Like, knows that. But like, that's my favorite Marvel movie. Like, it changed everything. It changed the paradigm of movies because now everything's superhero. Mm-hmm. And the only reason is because of Iron Man. Mm-hmm. And I just like Iron Man because, like, he's like sort of like the Batman. He doesn't have any superpowers. He's just intelligent and rich. But yeah, I like him the best. So this movie is an A.
It was also really cool to see Jeff Bridges play something other than the magical honky that he's been playing for the past 20 years.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Blake.
So, yeah, actually, Marissa, you and I sat next to each other when we saw this. We had to see it. Yeah, friendship is just a nice thing.
I wouldn't know.
It was...
That just threw Blake for a loop.
It was actually the second weekend it was out because we weren't able to see it the first weekend because we were still doing Camelot at Allegheny.
Oh God. Okay.
Yeah. So, and we were like, oh, so are we going to see it like Sunday night maybe? And then like it was just like, no, we'll just see it next week. So like it was you, me, Michael, Kogel, like we all went the second weekend. And I mean, it was just hyped about so much. And I remember it had made so much money that literally like that Sunday or Monday of its first week, they already announced that the second one was going to come out in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like, it was Robert Downey Jr.'s comeback. Like it is still like without a doubt probably the biggest comeback for an actor in movie history, perhaps. The only one like that was the closest thing before that was John Travolta in Pulp Fiction, and then he just ended up zigzagging over and over and over again. Like, okay, movie, bad movie, all right, movie, bad movie, but like no, like Robert Downey Jr. He came back. It brought him back, and not only that, like it was the director of Elf, and he had
Wait, is he? I don't even know that.
Yeah, Jon Favreau, and he had just done Zathura, which was basically Jumanji in space.
Yeah.
So you had like this actor that was against the ropes, and this director that had like a really popular Christmas movie. But when you thought of this director at the time, you wouldn't think like big budget superhero movie to start off the summer. And yeah, I mean like Jeff Bridges, like he suffices as the main villain, but overall, like he still falls into a big problem the MCU has with villains is like a lot of them are just forgettable, but it's just like Tony Stark made this in a cave with spare parts. But anyway,
yeah.
Go ahead, Marissa.
I'm just cutting it. I interrupted a lot. What's up? I was just thinking, I don't know why, but like it's been so long since like I saw the movie for the first time. But like that's the scene. That's one of the scenes that sticks with me the most. Like him in that desert in a cave, just like putting stuff together. Like there was probably a way more intelligent way to say that, but that scene was so impressive. Like
yeah. It was just, I guess for its time and setting, like you know the Iraq War was still going on, and this was we were still in Afghanistan, and like that was just a very like. It was really showing like, oh, hey, like superhero movies aren't just like fluff anymore. Like they're willing to mirror what's going on in real life at the time.
Well, not only did they take a chance on the social commentary, they also kind of made the story of Tony Stark parallel Robert Downey Jr.'s up to that point, the drunk asshole that nobody wants to work with.
Yeah,
learning a valuable lesson.
Yeah, and I mean like. I went through a period of time where I'm like, yo, the first Iron Man movie is just a little overrated, don't you think? But like, I can't admit that without getting like tomatoes thrown at me. But
I mean, up until a few weeks ago, I would have been right there with you. But I rewatched it for the first time since it first came out, and I mean, just speaking for me, I think it's pretty great.
I mean, it blew up like it did for a reason. Like, like people wouldn't have been willing to go see it like for the rest of that month if they didn't actually think it was good. So no, like credit where credit's due. I elaborated a little bit more on it in the 2008 episode, so I'm just going to skip right on. I give it a respected B.
I'm just going to gasp this whole time.
Yeah.
Just in the background.
Next movie, The Incredible Hulk. So this movie, it like everything it does right also kind of comes with a catch in my opinion. Like it does like one thing it does right is this movie moves at like a fast pace. It jumps right into it. Like the opening, like it has Hulk's origin happen during the opening credits. But the catch to that is like the rest of the movie moves way too quick. Like just as I was starting to get into it, it's over. And it's just like, oh, okay, never mind. Also, some of the CGI like just looks like, especially in that beginning opening credits where it's like showing everything from Hulk's point of view as he's like rampaging in the lab. It just looks so goofy. Abomination just does not. It's not a very good design in my opinion for Abomination. There's a lot of corny bits in this movie, like some of the dialogue, like I don't know what they've got in you already. The mixture could be An abomination. Oh, fucking gag me.
It must be some kind of hot tub time machine.
Also, Mark Ruffalo is the better Hulk. That's like a fucking fact at this point. Edward Norton in this movie feels like a watered down like version of Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker, in all honesty. Liv Tyler is so flat in this movie. Like I said, for everything that's done right, there's something that's just kind of like weighing it down. The final fight scene between Hulk and Abomination's awesome. Like, it's basically, if I had to describe that final fight scene, I would say it's like what would happen if you put two territorial cats in a burlap sack. It's just all over the fucking place and frantic as all hell. But other than that, I mean, I feel like this and just how Hulk has been used from here on out really proves that the Hulk is a character that's best used as a supporting member of the cast, not as the main character. And that's just from my own personal opinion, that the Hulk is not nuanced enough to carry his own movie. Even in the comics, the best Hulk movies have to deal with him interacting with a larger world as opposed to just him being him. So I'm going to put the Incredible Hulk at a comfortable C. Go ahead, Marissa.
So with this movie, nothing's really bad, but nothing's really good either.
Right.
Like Mark Ruffalo is clearly the better Hulk. I mean, no one can really argue it. But this movie just kind of suffers from being completely forgettable. I even had to go watch a recap because I was like, what happened in this movie? It's so forgettable. And
who's the Hulk again?
Yeah, who's the Hulk? But yeah, so I was like, what happened in this movie? And then so I'm watching recaps of it, and I'm dying because the comments are full of people saying, I'm in quarantine, and I'm marathoning all the Marvel movies, and I'm watching this recap so I don't have to watch the Hulk movie again. So
that's so petty.
Well, I think it's also really telling that this one is not on Disney Plus.
That, yes, I have talking points written down. I already told Blake I'm a nerd, but I wrote down a bunch of talking points for here, and that's why I have a big not on Disney Plus, because Disney Plus was no. So this movie isn't really bad or really good. It's just completely mediocre. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to give a comfortable C. I'm going to give it uncomfortable C.
Another thing I forgot to mention, I also love how the whole, what's his name? The actor from the dad from Modern Family, Ty Burrell. He plays Liv Tyler's new boyfriend. Yeah, he's just brought in and then just abruptly dropped for out of nowhere. So it's oh, okay, cool, nice knowing you, bud. Go ahead, Blake.
So yeah, I don't know if the reason why it's not on Disney Plus is because Universal still has the solo Hulk movie rights, but either way, it is a great it's a great echoing or shadowing whatever of how this is probably the most skippable Marvel movie.
Yeah.
It's just, and it's 2 points come together. You talk about how boring of a character Edward Norton makes Bruce Banner. And then, you both mentioned how Mark Ruffalo is the superior Bruce Banner Hulk. Nobody can deny that. Even Edward Norton wouldn't have the energy to argue with that. I feel he'd be nah, he's better. I don't give a shit.
Mark Ruffalo just has a lot more heart and soul to it.
Yeah.
Edward Norton apparently didn't like it. Right before this, I was asking myself, why did they replace him? And I was Googling it. And
because he's an asshole.
Well, yeah, basically, I was trying to think of a nice way to say that. Basically, he thought he was too good for it.
Yeah.
Kind of. So I was like, okay.
Exactly. And he kept, for the next 2 years until they brought in Mark Ruffalo to Comic-Con in 2010 or whatever to be this is the new Bruce Banner. They kept being it was this big saga of will he, won't he with Edward Norton. And he's I think we should make the Avengers the Dark Knight. And it's dude, what does that even mean? You're just saying shit. It was just I think we should make it a Christopher Nolan movie. And it's dude, do you want to be in a superhero movie that is the first of its kind or not? If not, then just fuck off.
Yeah.
But, sorry.
Do you think he feels stupid?
Say what, Marissa?
Do you think he feels stupid now? Like,
Oh,
For
definitely,
sure.
definitely. And he tries to play it off like all the time. He's like, I didn't want to, be in the Avengers anyway. Like that is something he
yeah,
said, and it's just like, oh yeah, who wants job security for the next like
yeah.
decade and a half?
Who wants oodles of money?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ugh.
yeah. Like I don't know. Like,
which
quick name all.
I think Edward Norton and Universal are both the reasons this movie isn't on Disney Plus.
Yeah, but for sure, like name all the good movies that Edward Norton has been in for the last 13 years. It's like nobody cares.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I mean, like other than that, like the Abomination is whatever. And then I just love how this movie teases the leader, and then he just never matters again.
And it's so it's so vague that like I completely missed it until
Yeah,
you told me
yeah,
about
we're
it.
like Tim Blake Nelson's forehead is expanding or whatever, and basically the leader is just a super genius villain for the Hulk to.
He's Megamind.
Yeah, no, the
Oh my
Hulk
god.
the leader is basically like Megamind.
Yeah.
But anyway, like
Which that actor, sorry to interrupt, but that actor's like forehead was so fucking big to begin with, I didn't notice.
also like Tim Blake Nelson is like the goofy goober in a Coen Brothers movie. He's not like an evil genius. Like I don't know what they were thinking when they had him as that.
Goofy Goober. Is that a SpongeBob reference?
That is a SpongeBob reference.
I just meant in general, but like
Goofy Goober.
he's the kind of guy that like tries to rob a Piggly Wiggly and fails at it. Like you wouldn't have him as like a mastermind, but that's like having Edward Norton in a movie that people actually care about. But anyway, honestly, like it's the most skippable movie. I forget a lot of it. I can't remember a single shot of the Abomination and the Hulk doing battle with each other. Like I just remember them like running at each other in the middle of Harlem, and then like they probably have like a punch that's so loud it makes everything blow up. But
there's that one bit where the Hulk claps his hands to put out a helicopter fire, and it was the silliest shit I've ever seen.
Yeah, honestly, like I give it a D. Let's just move on. I give it a D.
Oh man.
Which they are bringing the Abomination back for the She-Hulk show, so hopefully that'll be interesting.
Cool beans.
I'm sure everybody who watched that show will remember them.
Yeah.
All right, Iron Man 2. I rewatched this the other day, and like at first it starts off like better than Iron Man. Like it's just badass. It's in your face. It's like, yeah, I'm fucking Iron Man. What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah.
And then, like around the midpoint, it starts to like kind of decline a little bit, mainly because this movie blue balls you so bad with Whiplash. Like it builds him up, and he's like, first off, this movie also reminded me how fucking ugly Mickey Rourke is.
Oh god.
Holy shit.
I don't think he's meant to be like gorgeous.
Side note,
No, he looks like that in real life. Like
I know.
No, but Marissa, I don't know if you're aware of this. Mickey Rourke was actually a very handsome man at one point.
Yeah.
And
Apparently I wasn't aware.
He was in an accident or something, but he had to have surgery, and now he looks like this. But like no, like in the 80s or 90s, like he was actually handsome.
It's a more tragic story than Marlon Brando, because Marlon Brando got ugly by his own design. He ate Burger King and KFC 5 times a day. But yeah, Mickey Rourke was just unfortunate. But this movie builds up Whiplash, and like he just looks cool, and it's just like you could tell something cool is like about him, and then like it just blue balls you so bad with the quote unquote final fight, like because the entire final act is Iron Man and War Machine fighting a bunch of drones that he's controlling remotely, and then he finally comes in himself, lands, gets beat up, and then that's it, the end of the movie. And it's just like, what? Like it's so bad that they should have just made the other guy, the Justin Hammer, the main villain of the movie. It would have made more sense, especially since the parts about Tony like trying to fight like the poisoning of himself with the arc reactor in his chest slowly killing him. That stuff was like way more interesting than anything else was going on, in my opinion. So like it starts off better, slowly declines, but it's still a solid movie. I'm gonna give Iron Man 2 a B.
So I agree. Just on that one point where you're talking about like the plot with Tony Stark trying to deal with the poisoning and all that, I think that was more interesting too. But I'm always more interested in the human aspect than the fighting aspect because that's who I am. But yeah, I was more interested in that too. And basically, this movie. So Iron Man 2 is not my favorite Iron Man. I like the first one, then the third one, then the second one, which is a very unpopular opinion. But that's the facts. But um, but yeah, you're right. Like it opens up and it's so cool. It's Tony Stark. Like, yeah, so what? I'm Iron Man. Blah. And then I remember all the commercials for it when it was coming out, and like it had Mickey work with the big old electric whips, and it was very exciting. Um, yeah, but the ending is kind of, but I feel like it's an important movie too because it gets us really important people. So like we get the Black Widow in this, and we get Don Cheadle. So yay.
Yeah, that was an upgrade.
Top notch.
Yeah.
So yeah, I liked it, of course, not as much as the first or the third, but I thought it had its importance, so I'm still giving it an A.
Go ahead, Blake.
Well, as Trevor loves that one marquee outside the theater back in 2010, Iron Man 2, Terrence Howard 0. I want to be paid just as much as Robert Downey Jr. That's not how this works.
Yeah.
But, I mean, yeah, I got to agree with what Donnie was saying. Like, it seemed like it was like, I don't know. It's always interesting to see a superhero sequel where they're already the superhero in the beginning of the movie. And it's like, okay, well, how do they make it? Because basically, I feel like origin films can be easier in a way because it's like, okay, well, you have like that natural like progression and like,
how did we get here?
Yeah, how did we get here? But then in the sequel, it's like, okay, before I had to worry about having actual superhero content for maybe 3/4 of a movie, if not just 2/3 of a movie. But now, like, I have to have superhero stuff for the whole time, like all 2 hours. Like, how do I make this interesting?
I also love how Iron Man 2 was like a very realistic approach. Like, what if something like Iron Man happened in the real world? It's like the U.S. government would try to fucking possess it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You had Gary Shandling as the one senator, but yeah, I mean, like Sam Rockwell is, basically Tony Stark's like counterpart in this movie, and he's absolutely wasted. Like, I love Sam Rockwell, and it's just like, it kind of sucks how Sam Rockwell has already been in the Marvel Cinematic Universe because, I mean, I still like what Trevor said, how if Ryan Reynolds fell through as Deadpool, like Sam Rockwell would have been a good runner-up. Maybe a little too old, but
yeah. And
then with Mickey Rourke as Whiplash, like, I don't know. I always thought Whiplash was just goofy. Like when it showed like the Formula Racing scene where he's like coming up on him and he's like starts, waving both arms around and he's like trying to get a good whip going. I'm like, oh, so basically every dickhead on the playground who had 2 jumping ropes.
Oh, come on. But like, I don't know. I just feel like that commercial, like, I don't know. Trailers were better back in the day. I'm so old, apparently. Trailers in my day were so much better.
Now trailers try to do this thing where they're too vague, but then they show you the whole movie at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
But I just remember like seeing this movie, like I think it was I think I saw it on Saturday morning, like of the opening weekend, but I saw it on Saturday morning since it would be cheaper. And I remember just getting out of it and I had absolutely nothing to say about it. I was just like, oh, I looked at a screen for 2 hours and I was walking around the mall and I saw my buddies, Logan and Jerry, and they're like, hey, did you see the new Iron Man movie, Blake? And I'm like, oh yeah. And they go, why does the villain get beat so quick?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, what do you mean? And they go, well, he lands, they hit him, and then he's dead.
And then he self-destructs.
Yeah. Like, it's very anticlimactic. Like, it's just, it's over before you even knew it was getting started.
Yeah.
It's just, it's an underwhelming movie, and then at best, it's just whelming. Like, there's other parts where it's like, I wasn't underwhelmed, I wasn't overwhelmed, I was just whelmed. I give it a C, a whelming C.
Whelming. I'm sorry, I'm still confused about who Logan and Jerry are. I'm trying to figure out how you had friends that I didn't know back then. I don't get it.
What is this?
You had friends that I didn't know?
If anybody needs context, Marissa was basically my publicist.
Just saying. I don't know who these people are, and I don't get it. I don't get how you had friends I didn't know.
I don't know how I had friends at all.
You were my friend because you told a Harry Potter joke. So, I mean, there's
that's
that.
True. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a Harry Potter question for you. What happens if someone with a Horcrux suffers the Dementor's curse?
Ooh.
Or the Dementor's kiss, I should say.
I don't know.
Think about it. Anyway, next movie. Because
I
don't know either.
I don't know. I guess they would just suck out some of your soul. I don't know.
Next movie, Thor. Thor, after rewatching Thor, this is in hindsight, this movie is what made me realize Marvel was really playing with their formula in Phase 1, and what they could do with each movie. The Iron Man movies are very much social commentary kind of movies. Hulk is just kind of like a generic action with a little bit of sci-fi thriller in there. Thor, for some reason, they tried to make a romantic drama here and there. The bits with him and Natalie Portman are just they're not bad, but it makes no sense because it's she's all over him and everything. It's you literally just met this dude, and for all you know, he might be fucking crazy.
Isn't that every movie though? Every romantic comedy in the entire world.
I mean, yeah, but usually the guy isn't falling out of the sky and claiming to be the son of Odin.
Well,
I don't care how beefy he is. The man's going to an asylum and I'm getting as far away from him as possible.
I don't know. There are women who write to serial killers, so I mean, surely someone's into that.
That's true, and most serial killers aren't even beefy like Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, they don't have luscious gold locks.
Yeah, but Thor, I mean, it's the bits with him and Natalie Portman are just so lame because it just doesn't make sense. It's they're all over each other. It's you literally just met yesterday. It just requires a little too much suspension of disbelief.
I mean, honestly, putting aside the fact that he may or may not be crazy, the first deal breaker should have been those horrific bleached eyebrows.
Yeah.
Aw.
Also, I had forgotten how, I guess, underused, considering the role he plays in the rest of the cinematic universe, how underused Loki is in this movie. He was not in this movie as much as I remembered he was until when I rewatched it the other day. He doesn't do as much either, I feel like.
No, his big thing is the Avengers movie.
Yeah, and this movie, I would never have guessed, based on what happens in this movie, that Loki was going to be the main villain of the first Avengers movie. There is nothing in this movie or any of the other movies that hint at that. But I mean, Tom Hiddleston as Loki's just so fucking cool. I'm so glad we get to keep him for that show coming up on Disney Plus. That's just going to be awesome. But Thor the movie.
Wait, what show? What?
Yeah, Loki's getting his own show on Disney Plus.
Oh, for real? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I still have to watch WandaVision. So.
Me too.
Oh, I hear it's amazing.
I'll send you the trailer for it, Marissa. It actually looks interesting.
Oh, okay. I had no idea. Is it just him, or is Thor in it?
I'm sure Thor will pop up here and there, probably.
Did you see Endgame?
Yeah.
So you know how in the one timeline of 2012 where they have to steal the Tesseract again, Loki gets away?
Yeah.
It follows that alternate Loki.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where in the hell is Loki?
Spoiler alert.
He's the new Carmen Sandiego.
He's being very low key.
Oh, boo.
I see what you did there.
But Thor the movie, I mean, Anthony Hopkins as Odin, that's like the perfect choice. And you don't even realize it until you see it. It's a cool movie. It's kind of like Iron Man in the sense that it made me care about Thor a little bit more. Because before this movie, I knew even less about Thor than I knew about Iron Man. But other than that, it's very much, it's just a kind of like their movie. I'm going to give it a C as well.
So, I don't know. I don't have a ton of thoughts about Thor. It's like you kind of mentioned, the romance is weird. Yeah, they were trying to like play a different formula. I want to give it a C too, which I feel really ashamed about because I feel ashamed of anything low like that for Kat Dennings. But it is that's what's going to happen here. It's a C.
Go ahead, Blake.
All right, straight up. I love Kat Dennings, but her character in the MCU is just meh.
I know, but I love her.
But
I've
been in love with Kat Dennings ever since Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist. But
that was such a fantastic film.
So yeah, the first Thor. I mean, yeah, I mean from this movie alone, I could tell like, okay, Tom Hiddleston is Loki, like he'll definitely be back. And well, I kept up with movie news and behind the scenes news anyway. But anyway, like you could just tell like this was a star villain. And they were saving him. They were saving him for the Avengers. They didn't want to overuse him in this movie. Since we were going to see much more of him in the Avengers, but I mean, and then I don't know. It's just this was when I don't know. I think my feelings on the first Thor is what Trevor feels about Captain America: The First Avenger, where at this point, like we knew what was going to happen the following summer, and it's just like, okay, like let's get on with it. Like I just want to see the Avengers assemble. But I don't know. You had to appreciate everybody's backstory first. The first Thor, like, it's not bad by any means. It's not even like disappointing. It's just it for the I guess the chore that is introducing Thor. Like I hate how that rhymes, but it's a C. It's a C. It gets the job done, but it's like it's just nothing amazing.
Yeah.
Am I about to find out that Blake didn't like Captain America?
No.
Okay.
Well, speaking of Captain America, that's our next movie.
Yeah,
I was done. If you couldn't tell, I'm sorry.
I know it. I'm just scared to think we're going to move into Captain America, and you're going to be like, awful.
The first time I saw Captain America, I did not like it at all.
So there's that gasp again.
Which, like, I was just, I don't know why. Just like the first time I saw it, the first time I saw it, it was my least favorite MCU movie at the time. And that disappointed me because I love the Red Skull. He's one of my favorite Marvel villains. But rewatching it the other day, I don't know. I guess something just clicked with it finally with me. I like it a lot more. I still have a bit of a complaint with it, like in the middle where he's like after he becomes Captain America, after he gets the super soldier serum, and then he starts doing those USO shows and those propaganda shows to get people to buy like war bonds and shit, and it's just like it's such a whiplash, and it's so like boring, and nothing happens, and it also
I thought those were funny, where he's punching Hitler.
Why can't he punch actual Hitler?
Well, that was showing how the U.S. military was misusing him.
Yeah.
Right, but for me, not even the U.S. military would be that fucking stupid. You have an actual superhero, like the perfect result of a science experiment on your hands, and you're going to make him sell war bonds?
I could see that happening.
It made no sense to me. Cinematically, thematically, nothing happens during that chunk. There's just like way too long of a build-up for him to actually like do something in the war when he goes off and saves Bucky and all those other soldiers. It just like really like because the the first chunk of the movie is really good, and then when all that stuff goes on and everything in the middle, it just really takes the wind out of the sails for me. But everything else is good. The final fight with the Red Skull could have had a little bit more to it, but it was still good. I think it's so shitty that Hugo Weaving has never come back as Red Skull, because he was awesome as Red Skull. I'm gonna go ahead and give Captain America a B.
I'm gonna feel like a copycat. I just keep going with the same letter as you. I'm going with B too, but I really enjoyed Captain America. Again, I think I really enjoyed like the story origin of him. I love him and Bucky. It's so cute. Like him and his best friend. And then later on, what happens, of course. Spoiler alert.
Stuff happens.
Yeah, the stuff that happens later on. And then with Peggy, I hope I just said that name right. I just pulled that out of my memory. Was her name Peggy?
Yeah.
Okay. So Peggy, I liked the thing with Peggy, and I just liked Peggy in general because what a great female character. But I liked it. Chris Evans is just really good in that role.
Yeah.
He embodies it entirely. The sweet and the badass superhero. I'm going with B just because it's not the best. That goes to Iron Man, my love. Always. I don't think anyone beats Robert Downey Jr. Okay, so it's going with a B, but I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Go ahead, Blake.
So I love the first Captain America movie. For me, it is perfect for what it does. It's not a perfect movie, I'm saying, but the direction they went in, what they went for, is perfect. It's just they basically took an Indiana Jones movie and made it about a superhero. I thoroughly enjoy it, and I love how it was like Chris Evans' like second chance. I can't really say it was a comeback because Chris Evans didn't really fall from grace to begin with. He was just always just that guy.
Well, he was still fairly new at the time.
Wait, what was his first chance? Are we talking about like what's your number and stuff?
No, I'm talking about he was the Human Torch in the Jessica Alba Fantastic Four movies.
That.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going the romantic comedy route. Okay.
Which, like,
Anna Faris.
Which, like, honestly, like, the Fantastic Four movies, like, the ones with Jessica Alba and him, like,
They're okay.
They're not that bad. Like, people need to calm down. Like, ironically, in hindsight, they really do feel like, at the time, if Disney made a Fantastic Four movie.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, those movies, like people need to chill and putting those down. Like they suffice. They were what they were. But I mean, yeah, that was his second chance at like being a superhero, and he rocked it. Like he was, and by the way, once again, like he played the Human Torch like perfectly as far as attitude goes. He was basically just playing himself from Not Another Teen Movie again. But and it's so weird rewatching that movie when he turns around and he has whipped cream and a banana stuck up his butt. And it's like that guy.
Now he's fighting for truth, justice, and the American way.
Yeah. Like just
Gen Z don't know about the whipped cream.
No, Gen Z's like, wait, I'm sorry, what's this now? Basically, there was this like movie that's only funny like for a few minutes total. It was just like he's like, oh, this isn't a sundae. It's a banana split. And it's just like that guy got to be Captain America a few years later. Like what?
You know, everybody made the jokes about the guy in Twilight, and they were like, he had to have a thing in his contract saying he had to be shirtless. I feel like Chris Evans, most early movies, he had to be like pretty much naked in his contracts. Like in that movie, and then in What's Your Number? I just watched that a few months ago, so like judge me.
I still need to, no. I'm all about like a guilty pleasure comedy. I still need to see that.
I love Anna Faris, and it's a good one. But like he's like the cocky womanizer across the hall, and he comes out like naked because he's like, oh. But
I mean, hey,
that's what men sound like.
Can you blame him? That's America's ass, after all.
Yeah, actually, you do see ass. I'm pretty sure. So America's ass. But yeah, I think he has contracts where like they were writing and saying, you have to be like pretty much naked, and he's like, all right, I'll do it for America. Like
I mean, even in this movie, Captain America, like when he comes out and Peggy's like, "How do you feel?" and he's like taller, she feels his man boob
Right.
real quick.
Right.
He's like, and that was on the spot. That wasn't in the script. She was just like, I want to touch it.
I remember first seeing the movie and I was trying to figure out, I was like, wait, which one's his real body? I was like, is he really skinny? Or is he really buff? The idea of CGI was just mind blowing at that point in time.
No, there was just a whole week where he didn't eat anything.
Yeah.
And then like they stopped
actually,
for a week.
He was actually really sick.
And stomach flu.
But yeah, like Hugo Weaving as the Red Skull, like perfect, like
Yeah.
truly an Indiana Jones villain himself.
Oh yeah.
And then it was just like, I don't want to be in this series anymore. And it's like, oh, so you're willing to play like Mrs. Doubtfire in Cloud Atlas, basically, like a villainistic Nurse Ratchet, well, even more villainistic Nurse Ratchet. Like
Yeah.
Hugo Weaving did drag, and it's just like, you won't be the Red Skull again.
And you know what? If Hugo Weaving had come back, I would have loved to see him and Loki as the villains in the first Avengers movie.
I mean, I thought that that's what they were going with. Like because at the end when he like dissolves or whatever, I thought he was like gonna like go into the ether and then time travel, like his soul or whatever. Like I don't whatever comic book mumbo jumbo you can come up with. I thought he was like gonna reappear in modern day New York, and it's just like
maybe that was their plan, but the actor was like, nah.
No.
I mean, I think they probably meant to at least have Loki in the first Avengers movie because in the comics that was the first villain the Avengers fight is Loki.
Yeah. Well, no, for sure. But I was like, I don't. Could there have been room for two villains in that movie? I don't know.
Well, I mean, all the other movies, like half the other movies have two villains, so.
That's true. That's true too.
I just wanted to see Hugo Weaving come back.
Yeah, yeah. But as far as Captain America: The First Avenger, it is charming. I love it. It's fun. It's funny. It's just a feel good action packed movie. I give it an A. It's the first day of the night.
The US
God.
of A.
Now I feel bad about the B. We got to move past because now I feel bad.
Let's move on to the last movie for the night, The Avengers. I mean, it's another movie where everything that could be said's already been said. It's just like I watched it last night for the first time in years, and it still holds up. It's so great. Like from start to finish, they hit all the points all along the way. Like it's so good that like all the you know like stuff that you don't like about the previous movies that came before it, it kind of makes you go, okay, I see why that stuff's there. I see where you're going now. I see how you were planning on connecting the dots when you got to this movie. It all comes together, and it makes you appreciate even the bad stuff a little bit more. It's definitely one of the most, I guess, I don't know what the word, one of the most ambitious movies at the time.
Oh yeah.
I mean, again, everything that could be said has already been said. This movie definitely did Loki much more justice than the Thor movie did, in my opinion. It was also cool just to like, it was like being a kid on watching Saturday morning cartoons all over again. It's like you get to see all your favorite heroes come together as a team and kick some fucking ass. So I'm giving it an A.
Yeah, so my main thought on this movie is kind of like what you were saying. Like, this was such a fun movie to go to see in theaters with your friends. Like, it was so fun. And like right now, that song, like the Avengers theme, is stuck in my head. Like, just think about it for a second, you guys, and now it's gonna be stuck in your head. Just
gonna hear it in my sleep.
Yeah, that was such a fantastic song. Like, it just, you felt it. Real fun movie. You got to see everybody all together. They were all heroic. They all fought all over the city and destroyed it. The price tag of that. And then, of course, the scene that I think stayed with everybody the most, which was hilarious, is that after the credits, when they're just sitting in the restaurant, just silently eating. Like, good times. But I'm giving the movie an A because it was just really fun to watch. Such a fun movie.
I'll also say this movie I feel like is where Marvel finally like nailed their formula, like their trademark theme and their sense of humor and their pacing and their rhythm for like the rest of this cinematic universe.
Yeah, it's where they decided, okay, this is what we're gonna do.
Yeah, like this is the movie.
This is our identity.
This is literally where everything did come together.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Blake.
And they had Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah.
Important.
Go ahead, Blake.
So, I have seen this movie in theaters more times than any other movie in my whole life.
For a fact.
I saw this movie 7 times in theaters.
God damn.
This was when I was working at the movie theater, and this was the first summer that I was there too, because I started the movie theater like August, September 2011, and so it was like that was basically the only movie I wanted to talk about that whole year until then. But yeah, I remember. I saw it 7 times. Like 6 of those times was free, obviously, and then like I went out of town. I had to take my brother-in-law to it, and then it came back for Labor Day that September, and I was like, well, I want to see it one more time. And then my dad was like, oh, wait, I never got to see that. And I'm like, okay, I'll see it another time. And it's just, like I saw it 2 times opening weekend. It's just, the point is like, if there was any movie that I don't have to watch for the rest of my life, it should be this movie. But I mean, there was a reason, like, it was basically the Star Wars of our time at the time. Like it was the movie that everybody was seeing every weekend and like everybody loved. And like, it was basically just one of those few times that the world was united over enjoying one thing.
Yeah.
And this was when we started to see the trend where you can tell which movie is really doing well by what movie has the most memes. And this movie had so many memes.
It did.
And then I just love how the after credits scene finally answers the one question that we always forgot to ask. What do superheroes do right after they save the day? Like literally right after.
It's such a simple, tiny scene, and it just feels genius.
Yeah.
And I love during that scene too how they're all like trying to convey without saying right in front of the restaurant owner that this food is fucking awful.
Yeah. 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 And it's so good that like you totally forgive it for the fact that like the middle of this movie isn't that amazing at all. Like for the middle of this movie, like there's not really much going on. It's just when they capture Loki and get him on the helicarrier until Hawkeye, is still brainwashed and makes the one part of the plane blow up. Like not much is going on.
It's definitely the slower part of the movie, but I would say like there's still a lot going on in terms of relationship development.
Yeah, it definitely slows down, but like, I guess, you would have thought the Avengers, it would have just been boom, boom, pow, like 2 hours straight. But I mean, it's all for the payoff. Like we all came for the last half hour of the movie, and the last half hour of this movie is perhaps one of the best final half hours of any superhero movie ever made. I mean, only to be outdone maybe by like Endgame, perhaps. But the thing is, though, as much as like Endgame was amazing to see, like this movie, I think will always stand out because like this was the first time we all saw it come together, and nothing will ever top that. We'll never be able to see a movie like this for the first time again because it already happened. Like that one time, like they tried to have these different characters from different movies in the same scenes together. And it's such a simple idea in a way, but like, I don't know. The closest thing that it had happened before was like, I guess parody. But no, it's like, what if the same characters played by the same actors were all in the same scenes together, the same movie together. And it was just a fun, great thing to see accomplished. And I give it an A.
You're right, though. It's kind of like, I never really thought about it, but kind of is our Star Wars. Like, what other movie did we all see? Like, I can't think of another series of movies that we all saw.
And then it produced so many T-shirts, so many toys. Like,
I mean, it's like you said, like it was like one of those few moments where everybody was united. I mean, even Al Qaeda praised it.
What? What the fuck? Is that true?
No.
No. I mean, it might be.
gosh.
It might be, but as far as I know, I made it up.
Oh my god!
I hate you so much.
Me
I
too.
do too, because for a second I was really like, what? How did they?
I hope you get canceled.
I thought you were gonna say you hope I get cancer.
No.
You hope
No, too far. Just canceled.
just canceled.
Just canceled. He'll do the podcast by himself.
I mean, both are equally likely if we're being honest.
Even Kim Jong-un was like, "Hey, that's pretty good."
But he hated that other movie. Oh my god, I can't think of the name of it right now.
The interview.
Yes, I was about to say it, the debate. That is not what it's called.
But another thing about this movie is if you grew up loving these characters and just loving comic books and stuff like that, before these movies, that was very much considered not a cool thing to be into.
Yeah.
So to have this movie come out and get to see your favorite characters just be in the same movie together, and in a good movie. Imagine if this movie had been fucking awful, how people would have felt. But to see all of your favorite characters come together in a movie that is not only good but is universally praised, I mean, it just so many feelings.
Yeah.
Going on in that theater.
It was cool then because that was the movie that even the cool kids went to go see. Yeah, even the cool ones.
Even the cool kids who sold marijuana and smoked cigarettes behind the bleachers, they went and saw it.
Is that who the cool kids were? Oh god, I was thinking cheerleaders, which is so stereotypical of me.
I mean, they had marijuana too. Let's not lie.
Basically, everybody did except me.
Yeah. Not me. Not me.
Everyone did except us.
I didn't have marijuana. I had oregano.
You were all taught how to say no. No one offered it to me.
Yeah.
I never said no because nobody offered it.
Well, that's
because
if it had been offered, would you have said no?
I think I would have, but no one offered.
But all those programs made it seem like every time you turned the corner in the hallway, somebody was going to be being like, "Hey, man, try this." And it's in real life, they had to steal money to even have that themselves. They're not going to just give it away for free,
right? Well, that's
I'm just saying.
That's like the PSAs about checking your Halloween candy, so you don't
Yeah, so there's no edibles in it.
Yeah, it's nobody's giving away their edibles for free to fucking children. Come on now.
I thought you were going to talk about the age-old classic, the razor blade and the apple thing. First of all, whoever's giving away apples on Halloween, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Too.
Unless
I'm
they're
eating an
apples.
apple on Halloween.
Unless they're candied apples.
That only happened.
No.
That only happened to one kid, and it was their own uncle or something.
I thought it was the dad.
Or
I mean, that's
it was
an
their own
older
family
legend.
member. It was their own family member. Yeah.
I thought it was a dad over a custody battle, something that fucked up, not just in the Halloween candy,
Yeah.
There isn't if somebody in my in somebody's neighborhood, my neighborhood, whatever, if someone was giving my kid an apple with the blade in it, we'd all find out who it was.
Yeah.
We would all gang up together and go get the person. We're not just all gonna let it go.
Give them the old Freddy Krueger treatment.
Yeah.
A 3-year-old bites into an apple and finds a razor blade. Someone's going down.
Yeah.
You wouldn't just let them continue on for years.
Yeah, nobody's giving out drugs for free on Halloween. If anything, I think it's way more satisfying to just give the kids actual candy and watch them slowly develop diabetes, personally, but that's just me. But on that happy and cheerful note, that was the last movie. So does anybody have anything else they want to add?
I have a very serious question.
Okay.
So the end scene where they're eating at a restaurant, and Blake says it answers the question of what heroes would do after saving the world. Is that accurate? Because I always pictured after saving the world, it'd be more like a bunch of theater kids destroying a Denny's at midnight.
I love that reference.
That's how I picture it. Just destroying a Denny's.
Yeah.
And that's all you have. You don't have shawarma, so you just go to Denny's.
Get yourself a
That's
Grand
all.
Slam.
I remember this summer, 2012, Michael went to Disney World with Andrew, and it's like, oh yeah, man, like they had a new pop-up restaurant on site where they had shawarma. They were, they had a shawarma place on Disney World, and I was like, oh, how was it? And he goes, it wasn't that good.
Yeah, it kind of tasted like ass. All right. Well, on that note, I think it's time to call it. So, thank you everybody for listening. Thank you everybody for being here tonight. Thanks for joining us, Marissa. I hope you had fun.
I did. Thanks for having me.
So, on that note, if you guys tuned in late or missed this episode, we'll be on Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, all the fun streaming services tomorrow. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all the fun social medias at Fat Minute Radio. I am Don John. You can follow me at Don John Laughs. Be sure to follow Blake at Puka Saucy. So thank you. Fuck you. Goodbye.